Hey Black Label, what's up? Tyson and I here today going to talk to you about some frequently asked questions along with a brief overview about everything protein. So let's get into it.
All right, I think the first thing, maybe not a question that we get asked all the time, but what protein actually is. There's a lot of questions about the amino acids and things like that. So protein is part of our food. It's one of the three main things that make up our food. And protein itself is also made up of smaller components called amino acids. Now, these amino acids are where a lot of the questions come in. We hear a lot about people talking about BCAAs and EAAs and non-essential amino acids and all this stuff. And I like to think of it like a car. So if protein's a car, then that car has a bunch of different parts, which are considered the amino acids. Now, we'll start with BCAAs, which those are super popular. There's been a bunch of studies saying BCAAs are necessary in protein and to start the recovery process. So all these companies just start making BCAAs, but what they're not talking about is how BCAAs do have a crucial role in recovery. They start the process, but they don't continue the process. So if we look at the analogy of the car, the BCAAs are like the keys to the car. You have to have the keys to turn the car on. Like, you're not going anywhere without keys. But you still have to have the other components of the car in order for the car to actually work. So we look at the other, so we'll say there's 20 amino acids. 3 of them are the BCAAs, so that's the key to turn on the car. And then 6 more of them are considered the essential amino acids. So the BCAAs and 6 others are essential amino acids. And that's like the engine, the steering column, the drivetrain, the axle, stuff like that. So it's stuff that's required for the car to actually move. So now you have those, you can stick the keys in, you can turn it on, and you can actually move. But it still doesn't move very well. And so the last part of the building blocks of protein are the non-essential amino acids. And these are a little bit misleading, making it sound like we don't need them because they're called non-essential. But they're just called that because the body can make them if they're not available in our food. Whereas the essential amino acids are required to get through food because our bodies can't make them. So these non-essential amino acids are still essential. And in order for our body to be most efficient with the protein, it's better to get them from food. It's just if they're not there, our body can figure out a process. And these, as it relates to the car, are like the tires, the windshield, the frame, the seats. So yeah, you can drive the car without those things, but it's not going to go very well or go very fast. But when you add in the non-essential amino acids, then you have the complete car and you can go down the road. And then just for fun, I like to think of things like flavor, if it's a protein powder, or seasonings on a steak as like the radio and the heat seats and the heated steering wheel, stuff like that. That's not really that necessary, but it makes driving the car a lot more comfortable. Now, Tyler's going to talk a little more about the different types of protein that we have.
So protein comes in all various shapes and sizes and comes from a lot of different things. Some of the common ones are vegetables, meat, eggs, and milk, and even the protein powders that a lot of you guys will see in store, or, that you guys will buy from your favorite company. Now we get a lot of questions like, what are the different types, or what do those different types mean? And I'm going to go pertaining to the 2 main types of the powdered protein, which is whey protein and casein protein. Casein protein is actually a slower digesting protein, and is actually best taken before bed, as it is slower digesting, and it does contain more carbs, iron, and calcium than whey would. Now moving into whey protein, that actually digests a lot more quicker, which is good for early mornings and right after a workout, something that your body can metabolize a lot quicker and use right now. Those will generally contain less carbs, iron, and calcium compared to the casein protein. Now, there are 2 different types of whey proteins actually: whey isolate and whey concentrate. So let's do a base of milk. Let's take milk protein, for example. So milk, you filter it down a little bit, you get concentrate protein between 4 and 85%. That is just a little bit filtered, which it'll contain more of the fats and carbs and sugars and different things, which aren't bad, super good. They're good for you. and you do need them in your body, to function. But a lot of people like it in the isolate form, which was more filtered, which is 90+% filtered. And so that contains a little bit of less fats, different things like that. So it kind of just depends on how you're training. If you're training more, you're going to want probably a concentrate where those extra nutrients and different things are going to be able to help you out. Whereas if you're just taking it as an everyday thing, an isolate might be better off for you to do. And a couple other things a couple of other different proteins. You have animal and plant protein, which you'll see, which might tend to your diet a little bit better, but they're not as effective as a whey or casein protein. And so now that you know kind of a little bit of a baseline of what each protein is and which one would be best for you, I'm going to send it over to Tyson and talk about how you should use it.
All right, so another question that is super common is how much protein does an athlete need, a performance athlete? And there's tons of information out there, but it all compiled together, and the most respected answer to this is between 1.4 and 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Now, here in the US, we don't really use kilograms, and that can be kind of confusing. Like once you do the calculations, it's pretty easy actually. But I came up with an even simpler way to do it, and it equates the same way. You take your body weight in pounds, so I'm 200 pounds, and then you multiply it by 0.6, and then you multiply it by 0.9. So I would take 200, multiply it by 0.6, which is roughly 130, and then I would multiply 200 by 0.9, which is roughly 180. So for me, my window is between 130 and 180 grams of protein. And the best way to consume this, again, is somewhat up for debate, but the general consensus is over 4 to 6 times, different times per day. And that's because if you ate it all at once, yeah, you're going to get some benefit. But if you spread it out throughout the day, because your body is constantly recovering from exercise, it's going to be a better suit for your recovery, and you'll be able to utilize the protein to the best of its ability. So that's a quick overview of how much protein you need and how to consume it throughout the day. And if you're, depending on the type of athlete you are and your diet, you will want to consume 25 to 30% of your calories to be protein. And that's going to help you with the recovery and also kind of help you stay full, so you want to avoid some of those treats and things like that.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. If you think of anything else or want us to talk about anything else, please let us know. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and check out all the links in our bio.
And before we go, there's also a link for a sweet deal on Post Hustle, our hydrolyzed whey protein isolate.